you to the panel, leadership panel there for this event. And good afternoon to the rest of you, and I'm so happy to be here. I think as we've been listening for yesterday and today, we have heard about a lot of challenges on this issue. So first of all, we all know it's a very difficult issue to work on. So I'm going to give you a 2-minute of the problem statement. If coming from my personal experience as a 7-year-old child that was kidnapped and stolen from my mother and then sold into slavery into the next state over, where that's where the exploitation took place, starvation, abuse, everything that happened to me as a 7-year-old child and crying for my mother. I never got rescued at that time. So because of the abuse, being held in a cage, had a challenge in talking, communications, and all that, because that's what trafficking does. It puts you in a position of vulnerability. So as a 7-year-old child, I became very dysfunctional, but basically my trafficker said I had no value and I could not do anything, and pretty much they put me as dying and destitute. Well, in that, I actually kind of became my rescue. So at the age of 8, I got sold again for international adoption, which we haven't really covered here. But through that, I came into the United States. Life was good. Then it was 21 years later, I found my birth mother in a miraculous way that I don't have time to go into right now. But I found my birth mother, and I started listening to her plea for justice, her plea for help, and what happened to myself that was a missing child. So at that time, I became an advocate for children around the world. So today, I speak for those without a voice, those who cannot be here representing their challenges, the difficulties that they had to overcome, and the abuse and torture that happens within this industry. So I'm here today to really bring a name and a face to the issue. We have big numbers, that's, we 40 million and statistics, but I want to also be able to come to the human level. So I bring it to bringing it from the human side. I am a person, I am someone with a name, and someone who has emotions. Even though those emotions were taken away at age 8, I was able to recover some of that stuff. So anyways, that's the problem. And in 2011, I got appointed as the UN Special Advisor on the Global Initiative to Fight Human Trafficking. And up to that point, the voice of survivors were not being heard. So I'm happy today in this discussion here, that we are including the important voice of those who have been trafficked and to learn from all of us from here. So since I've been working on the issue for 18 years now, it's been a while. I've been at a lot of different conferences, been traveling to over 30 different countries, not just sharing my story, but now we're going to switch to what can we do to bring a solution to this problem. So one of the ways that both my husband, who was also a child trafficking victim at the age of 9, I was 7, another story there, but we created the Trani Foundation. We wanted a vehicle that could be something that could bring about the global change. And for, again, for the victims, former victims' voices to be heard. So we had the foundation that has global survivor network, listen to survivors all over the world, listening to the challenges. So I took all that from the learning, and today, as we're talking about solutions, right? And making recommendations, because that's the way we need to move forward. If I focused on my past and the problem, I would have never seen the vision where I want to go. Today, I have a vision, and I know where we want to go, and we're all here, right? Every one of us can agree we're here, and ending slavery by 2030 was one of the mandates by the UN, and I was part of the UN General Assembly, asking for goal number 8 way back in 2013. So with that, one solution I do want to bring to the table, and that is, how do we prevent forced labor within the supply chain? Because my broker owner owned a manufacturing company and used children for labor trafficking. So today I bring the solution is the Freedom Seal. It's a label, because I wanted a symbol that could be recognized within 10 seconds or 30 seconds. We heard that a lot of people don't have time to read things, and that is challenging. But how do we bring maybe a symbol? So both my husband and I created the Freedom Seal, which is basically it's the framework on practical things that companies can do. One is actively raise awareness, and in that I want to encourage us potentially talking about a creation of a video. Sometimes just education is the first thing, right? And so once we educate, And so one of the things I want to encourage this group here is to maybe create a video that could be an educational piece that could be used maybe within the Catholic churches, but also for different parts. So the second, number two, to companies to earn the Freedom Seal, they must show us what they are doing to bring remedies to former trafficking victims. So there's a big component in there that they need to do something to use their resources to take concrete action to actually help those who have been used maybe within their own factories, right? So we have a remedy system within that. And then, which also includes a lot of the job training and skills training component to it. Corporate training is one of the requirements. So there's a mechanism there that helps to frame that work as well. And then number three, within the Freedom Seal, companies, as I listened to, I spoke at got member states to join me on efforts, I got NGOs, survivors, and we were missing the private sector in the conversation several years ago. And now today, I'm very happy for the Alliance 8.7 ILO, who's really taken a concrete action, and I'm here to, as one of the other, is the Freedom Seal as a symbol. And in that is that we're asking companies now to take proactive steps within their own supply chain, and to watch their, who are their workers. So we have workers' voice application. I haven't gotten to the technology part of it. Later I'll probably talk a little bit more on that, but there's a technology component in the Freedom Seal that actually helps companies. So there are a lot of different things that we can do. There are economic benefits for companies. So we need to give, it was an award system, it's an incentive for them to do concrete action, and then we need to recognize those good actors. We a lot of times focus on the problem, we want to focus on those who are doing good. And I think within the Freedom Seal framework, it will allow that to take place as well, and then really be able to really bring a systematic change to this issue. Again, coming from my childhood, learning from what works and what doesn't work, and then bringing it into a framework that has a lot of the best practices. Again, partnering with the UN General Assembly, UN agencies, corporations, and others who have influenced this framework. So today I ask you to embrace that and to get partners to be able to advance that in the movement.